Hello and welcome to AFL Tonight. I'm David Zeta. Great to have your company. These are our top stories. A huge Friday night doubleheader begins in Sydney as the top of the table Swans face an undermanned Collingwood. The Suns' tour of the top end continues with Yadapulti the next challenger at TIO Stadium. We get the latest from Blues caretaker Josh Fraser as he outlines his coaching aspirations. The Swans will put their 5-game winning streak to the test tonight when they host Collingwood at the SCG. It will be a depleted Pies side for the Marngrook game. Fox Footy's Cameron Mooney is in Sydney covering it.
Well, massive night here at the SCG, and the crowd has just started to fill in here. I'm just in front of the ladies and the members' pavilion, and they've all started to pack in because it's going to be a huge night here at the SCG, a packed house. Obviously, when Collingwood are in town, that's always the way. But Sydney have some great ins, and let me tell you that, obviously, with McCartan down back and Curnow coming in as forward. I think McLean was actually very unlucky to go out. And then you look at the other side, well, the Pies, they've lost some really big players, lost 4 big players. So it's going to be a huge night for them to see if they can come up against this really informed Sydney Swans team. The team that you look down back, Nick Blakey right now is absolutely flying. And if he gets that handball game going and they allow him to run through the middle of the ground, they might be in some trouble tonight, Collingwood. And then you go down to that forward line with obviously Heaney, who I would put in the top handful of players in the competition at the moment. I think he's going that well. And obviously Curnow back in, who hasn't set the world alight so far, but he just might be in for one of those nights tonight. And then you go back into the middle of the ground where Brodie Grundy, he just might be the most informed ruckman in the competition. So a big, big night for Sydney. Obviously, as I said, the electricity here when this place is full is incredible. Unfortunately, I was on the other side of it in 2005 when I saw Nick Dacos break my heart with that last-minute kick. But this place can absolutely rock, and I think that's going to be what's going to happen tonight. With a full house, Sydney absolutely flying, up against the Collingwood side that we do know that does travel well, but they are depleted, and I am worried for them tonight, especially with JJ James Jordan going to probably Nick Dacos. And unless he gets off the chain and does something special, I think it could be a hard night for Collingwood. So for me, it's going to be a big night for Sydney Swans tonight.
Meanwhile, Gold Coast will look to keep its winning streak in Darwin alive when it takes on Yadapulti later tonight. The Suns have won 9 consecutive games in the Northern Territory, while it's the Power's first match there in nearly a decade and a half. Damien Hardwick's side regains Matt Rowell and could, at least for now, jump into the top 4 with a win. Josh Carr's men have been impressive in recent weeks, losing their last 2 games by only a combined 3 points. Tonight's game marks the second of Gold Coast's 2-game Darwin trip. Carlton interim coach Josh Fraser's declared he doesn't plan on pursuing the job full-time as he takes the helm at the Blues. The departure of Michael Voss has seen the footy world focus in on Icon Park ahead of a clash with the Western Bulldogs this week. Carlton's interim coach Josh Fraser putting players through their paces. At this stage, though, not planning to put himself through the club's search for the next full-time coach.
I'm ambitious and I want to be a senior coach at some point. I guess as we stand here right now, I probably don't think I'm quite ready. But what this opportunity does give me is a chance to jump in the driver's seat, learn a lot about myself, and hopefully at the end of it be better placed.
Fraser instead firmly focused on rallying the troops after a turbulent week.
Monday was a big day for the club. Thought it was important Monday to give everybody an opportunity to process the day how they needed to and do Monday as well as we could. But then importantly, front up Tuesday as a collective and move forward and get to work. I've seen a really galvanised playing group and galvanised clubs.
Patrick Cripps set to lead the club through yet another transition period. Fraser full of praise for the skipper's commitment to the Carlton cause.
Couldn't speak highly enough of our leaders, and Cripper's at the forefront of that. The support that he's shown myself and everybody else in the footy department, his desire to drive and take the club forward in the next 14 weeks. And then the way he spoke in front of the group around Vossi's departure and the love and respect, and I guess acknowledging what Vossi has done for this club in his time. So I think our leaders have been outstanding.
While at this stage he may not push for the job full-time, Fraser keen to leave his mark across the next few months.
I guess my philosophy is built largely around creating an environment where you're challenging people to get better every day, and that's that's staff, that's players. I'm a big believer in the habits that you develop Monday to Friday, turn up game day.
The Carlton family looking to come together after an eventful week, to be capped off by a date with the Western Bulldogs on Saturday night. Saints co-captain Callum Wilkie has been passed fit to play against Richmond on Sunday. Wilkie suffered a big hit on his back against the Suns last week and pulled up sore. In the midst of a superb season, the defender's inclusion is a big boost for the Saints.
Yeah, he'll train today. We think he plays. Like, there's no damage. It's just like an upper body corky, really. So, yeah, not an unusual incident, but that can go south, but it didn't. So, yeah, he'll play. Players get big hits all the time. Yeah. That's the business we're in. They're very courageous. Yeah.
News broke this week. The Saints have lost their regular Pride game with Sydney. The Swans choosing to end the partnership after the club's handling of Lance Collard's homophobic slur during a VFL game.
Yeah, I haven't got emotion. I'm just a senior coach. I think I'll just take the high ground and let Sydney make their decisions, and I think our CEO's responded. So I'll leave it at C-suite level, and at the shop floor we just got on with business.
Back to the footy, and Wilkie trained in a non-contact hat and will likely face a fitness test ahead of the clash with the Tigers. Nasiah Wangalei-Milera has been ruled out for 3 weeks, but Euroke have been boosted by the return of Jack Higgins from concussion. Charlie Banfield will make his AFL debut. The son of Eagles premiership player Drew was stolen by the Saints from the West Coast's academy in last year's draft. Tigers coach Adam Uze insists the club's injury crisis will build resilience. Sitting last on the ladder with just 1 win through the opening 9 rounds, Richmond face the Saints on Sunday afternoon with 18 players on the injury list. Uze not using that as an excuse though, rather praising the impact of some of his injured veterans in developing young talent.
And not only leadership on the field, like off the field, like we've got guys that aren't playing that are helping, like down press is another set of eyes there. Is a coach in waiting, is the way that he's helping our lads, and he will again today leading into this game with our midfield crew. Yeah, we all expect them to have an impact, like Toby Nankervis is having an impact with our rucks off the field while they can't play. So there's leadership on and off the field. And while we're going through what we're going through, we've got to, it's our job to fast-track the development of our players on the field, and our leaders are doing it off it.
Sunday's game against Euroke will see a debut for Noah Roberts-Thompson, the coach surprising the 19-year-old at his home for the Guernsey presentation.
It's always, the spirit always seems to lift when you get a first game of playing. So, yeah, great opportunity for Noah Roberts-Thompson to come into our team. He had a great game in the VFL on the weekend, so he deserves his opportunity, and I can't wait to see what he can do on the AFL field. So.
Uze also praising his side's effort in a losing cause against Adelaide in round 9. The Tigers competing for 3 quarters against last year's minor premiers before being blown out in the final term. Hawthorn coach Sam Mitchell is confident the club can cover for the loss of Jack Gunston to injury this week. Gunston was absent from Friday's captain's run, with the club's leading goal kicker this year to miss due to a foot injury. Despite the loss, Mitchell is backing in others to step up to fill the key forward's absence.
Yeah, I mean, Jack's been quite pivotal for us in the last 18 months, and he won't play forever, so we do need to find other avenues to goal, which I think we have done. Obviously, last week he was a more significant portion of our score, but for the most part, we've been able to put up scores with him not there at different times. So I think we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to score even without Jack. Someone else will fill the role that he plays, and we'll see how that pans out tomorrow.
The Hawks face Narm this weekend in an enticing matchup. Both sides have proven entertaining to watch so far this year. Mitchell predicts a good spectacle on Saturday afternoon.
This is an entertainment business. Now, for you guys, the entertainment is huge. And for the people going to the game, I've got teenage kids, they're going to love, a picket pocket and a wizard pocket or whatever they're calling these things. And I think as a fan, you want to go to the footy, you want to have a great time. Now, my job is to put on a great game and make sure that we play a brand of football that people want to watch. And I think Stephen King's doing the same. So I suspect it'll be a good game of footy to watch.
Connor McDonald and Jack Ginnivan both bring up their 100-game milestones. McDonald is the first player to play all of his 100 games under Mitchell. The Eagles say Harry Edwards is in good spirits after his latest concussion. The 25-year-old has had 5 concussions across his career, 3 of those in 2026. The club is set to be patient as the defender starts his recovery.
He's in really good spirits. He's been in the club this week, so yeah, we understand there's some hurdles ahead for Harry. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but we'll keep supporting him, and hopefully he can be back playing footy for us soon.
The Eagles have rested number 4 draft pick Cooper Duff Titler, with Jack Williams recalled. Woolwich Maroowa host GWS at Optus Stadium on Sunday. Speaking of the Giants, their coach Adam Kingsley admits the club may have pushed the envelope a bit too much with last week's banner. The edgy message GWS sent pre-game to Essendon riled up the Bombers. Brad Scott claiming the Giants were desperate for relevance.
Chatted to a few about that, but all in all, it's, you know, we like to have a bit of fun. I think we're known for having a bit of fun, and you know, maybe we took it just a touch too far on that one, but we'll keep trying.
GWS have revealed star forward Jesse Hogan is now a week-by-week proposition as he struggles with a persistent hip injury.
He's still feeling it a little bit, so we just assess week on week. I mean, the discussions are: do we bring him back in when he's ready, or do we give him a little bit of time out and let him sort of do a bit of a mini pre-season, and we see him post-buy. So yeah, that's the ongoing discussion at the moment.
The Giants travel to Perth to take on Woolwich Maroowa on Sunday. They've beaten the Eagles in 4 of their past 5 clashes. Giants forward Toby Bedford's confident the club can course correct after a shaky start to the season. With growing chatter over the future of Toby Green, Bedford is hopeful the skipper will resist rival interest. AFL Tonight spoke with Bedford earlier this week. Toby, just talk to us about the importance of the round and obviously the jumper and how much it means to you.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important, you know, to represent our culture and, you know, the biggest sport in Australia, and we play in the biggest stages as well. So to be able to play and represent our culture, I think it means a lot to us, but our families as well, and our culture. So it's extremely significant, and I couldn't be prouder wearing this jumper this weekend. And I think we wear it for a couple of weekends, so yeah, very excited.
From a Giants point of view, how do you think you're tracking? You seem to be sort of stop-start a bit in 2026. How have you assessed it? Yeah, we haven't played our best football, that's for sure, and you know, I think it's been our own fault as well, which is, I guess, makes it a bit easier because I think they're easier fixes, but also a bit more annoying as well. So, you know, we've started pretty slow, but we're pretty confident that we can bounce back and have a really strong second half of the year. And, you know, we did it in 2023 as well when we had a really strong second half. So we've got a lot of belief that we can still make a massive impact and, you know, still go a long way into this season and hopefully win the grand final. When you speak about easy fixes, what's the one that stands out to you? Well, look, I mean easy fixes in the fact that it's our game plan and it's our system-based stuff that we haven't been executing that well. So a lot of it's our ball movement, the way we want to move the ball. So just little things like that, and like little fixes that we can control that we probably haven't been doing to the best of our ability. So that's what I mean by easy fixes. And like I said, we're pretty confident that we can change those and you know, have a real big impact in the second half of this year. Been a bit of talk about Toby Green, and he's obviously had a contract at the end of the year, and he's got a family now. Maybe a move to Victoria might be what he's after. What's your sense of it on the inside, and how important is he still to this group? Oh, well, he's extremely important. I think there's no shying away that he's probably the greatest Giant of all time, and yeah, obviously it's a pretty big decision for him to make. You know, I think, yeah. Like, I'm not going to speak too much on the contract side of stuff. That's up to him. But obviously we want him to stay more than anything, and I believe he will stay. But that'll play out, and that'll be behind, like, up to him. But I don't think will let that affect us at all. And I don't think he'll let that affect him at all as well. He played a pretty good game on the weekend. So yeah. Would you be just one more on Toby? If he was to
go home because he wanted to be close to the family. He's obviously got a young family now. Would you be upset, or would you be accepting of it, given he's later in his career and he might just need a change of scenery?
I'll be upset the fact that we're losing him, but also understanding the fact that he's got a young family. And we're pretty big on family at the club as well. So, but like I said, we're a family club as well, and hopefully he stays for hopefully the next few years or however long he wants to. And yeah, we can hopefully repay him with a few premierships as well with that.
It seems like injuries here, you just keep getting them. You can't get your full side out on the park, your best side. Is that the feeling internally as well? Has it been frustrating, just how inconsistent it's been from a selection availability point of view?
Yeah, definitely. We won't shy away from the fact that we have injuries, but we also believe that our depth can beat anyone as well. So, like I said, the injuries have been there, and we wish we didn't have them, but we have, unfortunately. But we still believe that our depth can beat anyone, and as long as we play our brand, and like I said, there's a few easy fixes on our behalf, we believe that we can still have a real big impact.
Thanks to Toby for his time. Stay with us here on AFL Tonight. Up next, Drew Petri joins us to look back at the Cats' big win over the Lions and look ahead to an exciting weekend of footy as Sir Doug Nicholls' round gets into full swing. Back to AFL Tonight. Round 10 is already underway with Geelong recording a dominant win over the Lions. To have a look back at last night and preview a big weekend of footy, here's Drew Jones with North Melbourne champion Drew Petri.
All right, Drew Petri again with us on AFL Tonight. 332 games across a decorated AFL career. Drew, good to see you.
Good to be back.
All right, let's talk about Thursday night football. And Geelong, I think, impressed everyone with their performance up at the Gabba. What struck you about the way they won that game?
Many things. We could be here for hours dissecting how well the Geelong Cats played last night, and it was set up in the first quarter, I think, with Tom Stewart being able to have immediate impact on the game. Going into games against Geelong sides know not to kick it back long and high, and I think Brisbane's ball movement was stifled in the first quarter particularly, which brought Tom Stewart straight into the game.
So one thing that stood out to me in particular, I think it happened in the third quarter. So Ocean Mullen has had a great season, and he's more than just a tagger, and I think he showed that last night. So they did a good job unlocking you, but there was that moment where the ball turned over at half-back and he burnt off every Lions player, including the dual Brownlow medalist. Very impressive, wasn't it?
Oh, it was so impressive, and I think that's what the best run with players can do, is they will challenge their opponent when they go the other way. And I had my 15-year-old son sitting next to me last night on the couch watching, and he said Mullen's the best tagger in the league, and it's because he can do things like that. And I think Geelong's work rate across the whole game was a massive contributing factor into them winning, because of if you pause your tally screen at home at any time throughout the game, particularly in the first, third and fourth quarters, you would see more Geelong Cats players in the screen, and they got numbers to the contest all night.
All right, so I think Zach Tui said this, when Mullen came to the league, it was like the Nick Dacos of the Gaelic competition coming over to play AFL, so it's no surprise he's having such a great impact. Tonight, so Swans and Pies, feels like Collingwood a little bit undermanned with the outs that they've got. Is there a way you can find for them to cause an upset here?
I can't particularly, but let's look at last night's game as an example as what can be done. Collingwood have got the ability to perform well interstate. Interstate record this year hasn't been so fortunate in the win-loss column, but I think when they get challenged, and there's always the narrative around Collingwood not travelling too much, so when they do travel, I think they really like to own that opportunity to win games. And I think Sydney's form, and they were pushed really hard by North Melbourne last week. I think that's a good reality check for Sydney to know that if they're not on their best, any team is capable of beating them, and that'll be probably the mentality and the mindset Sydney take in tonight.
Yeah, I think big coaching challenge for Craig McRae, and I'm sure that he's up for it. So double-header tonight on Fox Footy. So if you can run the two screens, you can do so up with the top-end game in Darwin. So whenever there's a game at TIO Stadium, and in this case it's the Suns against Port Adelaide, I try to imagine what it would be like to have a team based there full-time. Do you think we'll ever have, say, the 20th team in the AFL be a Northern Territory side?
I think we can. I think the metrics around what the AFL look for when they're going to introduce a new team have changed. Being a part of some merger talks back when I was at North Melbourne going to the Gold Coast, that was a new market. Greater Western Sydney were looking for a new market, but so that was the metrics around those two teams. Now we look at Tasmania, who are already an AFL state, but they've got a team coming in now. So we don't necessarily have to look at the same metrics to put for the reasons that we've put Gold Coast and GWS in the comp, because we've now put Tassie for different reasons. Of course we can put a team up there. I think where the flow-on effect is financial viability, and that's because we need a state league team, a women's team, and we need resources around it. So it's beyond more than just a 40-list men's team. It flows all the way through. So it's a big move to put a team anywhere because of that.
I think finance and logistics has always been a barrier for the NT team, but there's no doubt when you think about it, in theory, as AFL lovers, as we are as footy lovers, it would be great to see. So Super Saturday on Fox Footy. It starts off with Gowanna up against North Melbourne, and last week they ran Sydney really close at Marvel, and it was a great performance by Alistair Clarkson's men. How close are they to a big scalp, do you think?
Yeah, getting closer. I think the games that they've won this year have been from the sides that are around them. Yeah. They pushed the Giants to 7 points. They were leading at the 20-minute mark against Geelong down at the Cattery a few weeks ago, and then we saw the result against Sydney on the weekend. So the improvement's coming. I think the spread across their team is where the improvements come in these performances. I've loved Jai Simpkin over the last couple of weeks particularly. He got pushed out of the midfield a little bit, went to half-back, but now he's found his way back into some more midfield time, and I think his performances and he's been able to push forward and kick goals has been a big way in why North Melbourne are going so well this season.
So this week Champion Data put out some information about the best rated 23 and unders in the competition. So Wardlaw, Sheasel and Finn O'Sullivan all sit within the top 8. So there's no doubt North Melbourne have got the young kids right. But what I feel like they need, and what you probably would agree, is they need more senior talent if they're going to push up and start to contend. So I'll throw this scenario at you. The Blues have already said they want draft picks. They want to rebuild this team. Jacob Wiedering, senior player, key defender, perhaps exactly what North Melbourne need. Could you see the Roos making a play for Wiedering?
I think the Roos have made some plays for some key defenders in Griffin Logue and Aidan Core over the last few years. You've got Charlie Comben, who's there now, and he's going to be a star of the future. I'm not sure if Wiedering's going to be that guy, but I like your principle, and I love bringing in a tall, experienced defender to help their current back six, which often, if Comben or Logue are out of the side, we are vulnerable, but I'm not sure Wiedering is your man.
Okay, interesting. No doubt there'll be a lot of discussion about where North Melbourne go to next.
Well, I'm not sure they're going to ask my opinion either, for that matter, even though Brady Rawlings is a mate of mine.
Okay, very good. So just on the Blues, it's clearly been a big week for them, and in some ways there's almost a bit of a relief for Michael Voss that he's escaped the pressure that's been building up at Icon Park. So Josh Fraser takes over, game against the Western Bulldogs at Marvel on Saturday night. Any chance of a new coach bounce?
The new coach, Sugar Hit, might occur. It's being able to sustain that over these next weeks remaining throughout the year, and it's hard. I'm not sure what Josh Fraser's measures and metrics are going to be. The sooner that Carlton can bring in a new coach, the better. Back in 2009, when Danny Laidley finished as coach, Danny finished in the mid-season bye. We had an interim coach of Darren Crocker for 10 weeks. We went 3 wins, 6 losses and a draw. In that time, Brad Scott was appointed as coach with 2 weeks remaining in the season. So it was about a 7-week process to appoint a new coach. Those last 2 weeks of the season, when Darren was still senior coach, I do remember Brad setting up an office at the footy club. He would have been involved in list management decisions. He would attend games and sit in the crowd, but he let Croc coach the remaining 2 games. But having influence over the future of the club was what Brad did in that 2 weeks at the end of the year.
So the sooner the better, you're saying, to set them up for next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how long a process takes, call it 6 weeks, but the sooner the better to prep for next season.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So on Sunday at the MCG, Wally Lupp up against Essendon. I know there's been a lot of talk about Luke Jackson. We discussed him last week, and he's in tremendous form. But I just wanted to give some credit to Josh Tracy, who I think is having a career year. And I just wanted, as a fellow key forward, your take on what Josh's year's been like.
Oh, he's been outstanding, and I think you just look at the man. He's a strong. He looks strong. He looks like Tarzan and plays like Tarzan too. So he's a big unit. And his players around him, like it's allowed Patrick Voss to not get as much attention, and Fremantle's depth of talent across the whole board has improved, but for Josh Tracy to really own and dominate in the forward line, it allows Luke Jackson to go up the ground and play his role a bit more. Mason Cox certainly helps Luke Jackson, but Josh Tracy's owning that forward line, and it gives confidence to his midfielders when they're coming through that forward line to be able to execute good disposal inside 50, and he's an absolute competitor. I think that's a fundamental of a big key forward. Even if you're not going to mark the footy, can you crash a pack, can you bring the footy to ground, and that's what his teammates are loving about him at the moment.
Doc is flying at the moment. They've won 8 in a row. So West Coast play against GWS, last game of the round. This is a really unfortunate situation where Harry Edwards finds himself again in concussion protocol. So it's the 5th time in his career that this has happened. I just wanted to get your thoughts with your personal connection with Harry.
Yeah, so Harry was drafted to the club when I was in a role as the player development manager, and I was actually playing some Waffle Eagles footy in 2019. So. As a backman, and I remember a game early on when Harry was slung in a tackle and he was concussed, and I was standing by his side holding him in that moment before the doctor came out. So it started quite early on for Harry, sadly, and that first one in 2019 I was front and centre to seeing it, and the vision last week of him coming off with that blood streaming down his face is really sad. So without knowing every piece of detail around Harry's situation at the moment, we are seeing players being really cautious with head knocks. Hopefully he's able to play footy again at the highest level, but I think more importantly, hopefully Harry makes a healthy decision for his future life.
Absolutely, and I think the Eagles have made that pretty clear that they want to put his health and well-being first. Drew, we appreciate your time on AFL Tonight again. Now, last week I said YouTube Frank the Tank.
Right.
So...
Is this going to happen every week?
Well,
Stitch up?
let's see how much we can find. Was it 7 goals in 1 quarter against the Western Bulldogs?
Well, it was 6 goals in about 20 minutes to be specific. 6 in 20, yeah. It was a very enjoyable day. It was Glenn Archer's 300th game. I'm living off moments like that. There's not many of those that exist for my career, but I'm living off one of those.
So Archer 300, Petri 6 in 20 minutes. That's your Google search for this week. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks to the Drews, and thanks for joining us on AFL Tonight. Make sure you stay across all the latest on Fox Sports News. On Fox Footy, it's time for Sydney and Collingwood. Enjoy.